Hey everybody, welcome back to Our Liberty House. My name is Lucas, and today we are going to go over some summer garden care, some tips and tricks. Here in Northern California, it's middle of July. We're regularly getting days in the high 90s and even up to like 110. And I just want to share with you some things we do to help keep our garden healthy and producing through the dog days of summer. So we're going to go over how to utilize shade, some techniques in talking about water, and then also about mulch, which will help both the watering and help the fruit from getting too stressed out. Let's get going. All right, the first things first, let's talk about how direct sunlight can affect your plants. And our garden faces west. And so when the sun's, the highest in the sky and the hottest, this whole wall gets, direct full sunlight, and that can cause issues like sun scalding. And you see it on tomatoes a lot, and definitely peppers. I pull this one off here. You can see this, it's just a big sunburn. And one way we can prevent that is, one, don't over prune the foliage on your tomato plants and on your pepper plants, because that's used to shade the fruits and protect them. And then we can also utilize shade cloth, which is something like this. And we just buy this at the local hardware store. You can buy it by the foot, and you want about a 40 to 60% reduction shade cloth, and that's usually this color, the lighter tan. The darker green or the black you're gonna see is more for like personal shade. So you want this. Your plants will still get plenty of sunlight, plenty of nutrients from the sun, but it'll help prevent them from that scalding heat that's gonna potentially burn some of your fruit in the summertime. And we really just make this out of some stakes and some ties, and really it's nice because we can just, when we know it's going to be 105, we can roll it out, stake it in, let the heat wave go through, and then pull it down. Because it's not the greatest looking thing in your garden, but it definitely will help prevent things like this. All right, to identify maybe if your plant needs some extra shade, there's a few things. One, to look at the forecast. If it's gonna be abnormally hot, here, like I said, in Northern California, like 103 to 110, the plants could use some shade to protect the fruit from this sun scald. But a plant that's curling its leaves upward like this is not necessarily needing shade or any change to its watering cycle. This is just the plant protecting itself. This is really old foliage. It's been in the ground 3 to 4 months, and this is a plant just protecting itself. Versus if it was wilting, if it was rolling downwards, and in the morning time when you came out after it cooled down overnight, if it was rolling downwards, then that plant might need some more watering. Check your moisture meter, versus maybe something like this, which is probably a fungal or a bacterial disease. And I'm going to talk about treating that at a later video. So to recap, leaves curling upwards, totally normal. And really just check your forecast if your plants need some shade. And then the other thing is, like, if you get an early heat wave early in the summer, or if you're transplanting stuff, like we're going to be planting some pumpkins, it's supposed to be in the high 90s here. I will probably cover the pumpkins for a few days just to let them get acclimated and not get burnt and wilted out in the dog days of summer here in Sacramento. If you do get some sun scalding, during your season on a tomato or a pepper, if the fruit's ripe, if a ripened fruit had gotten a little sunburn, it's still perfectly edible. It's not going to affect it. You see it on peppers a lot. You'll get a nice big bell pepper, and then you get a heat wave and it gets a little sunburn. Just pull it off right away, cut around it. It's still totally edible. It's not going to affect the flavor at all. But like this one, it's going to rot before this tomato ripens. This thing's still got at least a week, and this soft spot's going to rot. So I'll just chuck this one in the compost. But if you get a fully ripened fruit that gets a little sunburn, just cut around it. It's totally edible. And now let's talk about the other thing that helps prevent your plants from getting stressed out and having, rotting fruit, splitting tomatoes, and things like that, is watering. And if you're using a drip system like we recommend, You want to do infrequent, super deep watering, train those roots to get down as deep as possible, and then they'll be able to withstand these heat waves without having to be out here every day watering with the hose to keep up. And one of the biggest things to help you with that is using a moisture meter. And this is just a little frog moisture meter that we got from the county. And what I do periodically throughout the season is check, you know, hey, I haven't watered in 4 days. Where am I at? And if I'm still in the moist region to the wet region, I might back my watering off to every 5 days. And so what we did in the early season was we started every 3, and then it was still staying wet. And plants don't like wet feet, so then I moved it to every 4. And now we're still, after 4 days, even when it's 105, we're still in the moist region, so I could even probably back it off to every 5 days. Now, with that being said, if you have containers that are in your drip system, like we'll show you with our tree boxes, you just have to hand water those more. But for raised beds or in-ground gardens, definitely recommend getting a moisture meter and testing your soil. So water for 30 minutes, super deep and slow with your drip system, come back in 3 days and see where you're at. If it's dry, then you know, hey, I need to water every 3 days. But if it's still in the wet region of this, back it off. You know, train those roots to go deep. The last thing I want to talk about for, you know, keeping your garden healthy, which kind of goes into the watering, is using mulch. And what we use this year is just this compressed straw mulch that we got from Tractor Supply. I'll show you, we still have a wheelbarrow full of it. It comes in like a bale about, you know, yay big. It's like 15 bucks. And we've covered our whole garden, my parents' garden, and we still have some left. And the mulch will help keep the sunlight from drying out the soil, and it'll help your watering last longer and help your plants from getting stressed. So I definitely recommend a type of mulch. You can use the straw, people use bark, you can use redwood mulch. We've even used grass clippings in the past. Just want to make sure you let those grass clippings dry out. You don't want to put fresh green grass clippings as a mulch because you can get like a nitrogen burn. Definitely, or if you use any chemical pesticides or herbicides on your grass, don't use those clippings in your garden. But grass clippings work, and they're free if you have a lawn. All right, everybody, that's it. Just summer tips and tricks for keeping your garden healthy and productive all summer long. And just like I said, the big things are utilizing shade to your advantage when you have a heat wave. And before that, even make sure you don't over prune your tomatoes and your peppers, because these sun leaves are what's designed naturally for the plant to protect its fruit. And then, you know, use a moisture meter. Train your plants to grow deep, healthy roots rather than watering every day and get surface roots, because when it does get 100+ here, you're gonna want deep roots that can withstand those heat waves. You water every 4 days, every 5 days, you know, just depending on your soil. And the last thing to help you with both healthy, you know, watering practices and healthy fruits is good mulch. Keeps the weeds down, competitive, and it keeps retaining moisture. So use some type of mulch and you'll have a healthy, successful garden through any, you know, weather conditions. Really appreciate your guys' time watching this video today. Hit that like, that thumbs up button for us, and subscribe to our channel for more content, you know, backyard gardening and urban farm setting. Thanks.